Today we got a little update video of the turbo Honda Civic R18 motor, and we're doing some maintenance on it today. Actually, we will be changing the oil. We've been running a full synthetic by Quaker Steak 5W30, so it's a 1 weight heavier than the factory. Purelator oil filter, that's what I prefer to use. We're also going to be throwing in the Lifeline, the fuel aux friction modifier eliminator. This is something that will benefit the engine, especially since it's turbocharged and it's experiencing a lot of heat and increased wear and friction on the motor. So that's something we're gonna toss in there. I'll tell you more about that. And we're gonna do a drain and refill on the automatic transmission. Yes, automatic transmission turbo R18 8th gen Civic. The automatic transmission has been holding up pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and do these maintenance things right now, take you with me. I'm also gonna be bringing you guys along to my laptop. I got my laptop sitting here. I'm gonna tell you some of the tuning tips and tricks that I've done and where the R18 Civic sits as far as tuning, timing, throttle, all that kind of stuff. Briefly go over that with you guys, so watch the whole video. So looking into the oil, I can't really see any metallic shavings, nothing too crazy. Looks pretty good and pretty normal. Golly. Trash. All right, guys, real quickly, the fuel aux. So we're sponsored by the fuel aux. Okay, we've been running their products for some time. I've been running the fuel aux fuel supplement for a minute. I usually run it every couple of tank ups right before I change my oil, just so whatever it cleans out. If it does dilute the oil to some extent because of the additives, you know, I'm changing the oil not too long after using the product. So far, no problems with fuel injectors. Everything's running good and clean, no misfiring. So I just toss the fuel aux supplement in there every so often. And the fuel aux infinity lube, again, this is the friction modifier. This is going to be the first time I'm running it in the car, and let me just run through some of the benefits. Strengthens and soothes metals on a micron level, extends life and reduces wear and tear, reduces friction, wear, and temperature. So it does supposedly increase the life of bearings of any metal surface, lowers amperage needed to operate equipment, greatly extends oil change intervals, can be used with all types of oils, reduces friction and operating temperature of treated surfaces, reduces engine noise for a smoother ride. So we're going to replace, I don't know how much this would be, like maybe half a quart or less of oil with this friction eliminator, and we'll see how it goes. If you guys are interested in any of these items, you can use my discount code below. Check out and you'll get a discount for these awesome additives. So it says to use 2 ounces per quart. So in the whole 5 quarts, we're pretty much gonna do this whole thing, 10 ounces. So everything's going in right here. Let that soak in, mix it up, get that puppy what it needs. Shake it, shake it. Let's go. All right, so oil change is almost done, right? We're gonna get this puppy in and we should be good to go. Now, I see a lot of leaks under the car by the transmission, and a lot of you guys know I'm running a external transmission cooler, and it looks like one of the lines that came with the kit. So I got one hose that came from the kit that I'm using, right? And it's a 3/8 line. However, I think this line that came with that kit was super hard, and I mean, even in the box, this is brand new, it's super hard, and it's been cracking all over the connection where it's mounted on the factory oil cooler line. So here's the factory one, I believe, and this is nice. You can adjust it. It's malleable. So it's raining, weather sucks, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and proceed to replacing the line. I might have to go to AutoZone and buy a new 3/8 hose, maybe get a foot of it, so I can do the transmission, because I might be actually a little bit low on transmission fluid too, because the whole transmission side is kind of wet, so that's not good. And I don't know, if I don't do it now, I'm gonna have to drive the whole winter through it like that, and I don't know if I want to do that. So let's change this oil, see what we're gonna do next. Yeah, I got a little carried away. All right, guys, so I'm gonna replace the transmission line, and I really didn't want to do this, but I had to get the bumper off, got all the intercooler piping here off, and now you can see there's a bunch of oil, transmission fluid leaking from this line right over here. It's got cracks all over. Only one of the lines, not two, but it's going all the way. My transmission cooler's like, you could kind of see it's between the condenser and the radiator, so that's another pain in the ass thing that that's a problem. So you know what I think I'm gonna do for the winter? I think I'm just gonna loop back the factory hose over there. Maybe in the summer when I have more time and more access to get to the cooler lines, we'll see. I might replace the hoses next year. Let me see what I can think of. But yeah, the lines or the piping is all off. Intercooler piping clean and solid. However, that intake piping has a little bit of oil residue in there, and that oil residue has to do with that port that's venting from the oil, where the oil dipstick was. It goes to the catch can, and still somehow from the catch can it's still getting a little bit is getting into that intake. So maybe not the most efficient oil catch can, but all in all, pretty good, pretty clean. Turbo's doing good. Probably next year we're gonna do a rebuild on it, because I think it's just time, you know, just to play it safe. So let me see what I can do. Luckily it stopped raining, but yeah, it's chilly, it's cold, and I need the car for tomorrow, so I gotta get to work. All right, guys, little update video. I got my factory hose connected from this point to this point. These two hoses right here from the transmission cooler are so stiff. I don't got time for getting extra hoses right now. And again, with the winter and the cold weather, the transmission is gonna do just fine. So what I'm gonna try to do right now, you can kind of see two zip ties right over here on my condenser. That's where That's where it's connected from. So I took off some bolts here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but we're gonna clip those and try to sneak out that oil cooler out of there. And then at that point I'm gonna lost some transmission fluid there, but at that point, once I have that disconnected, I'm gonna just maybe clean out a little bit of this oil. I'm gonna drain the transmission fluid, and since everything is open and available, I'll refill the transmission fluid since it's easily accessible. And once I do that, I'll reinstall everything else. Biggest pain in the butt, got the transmission cooler off. To my surprise, it's like, I don't know if you would, okay, there's the fluid. There it is. Yeah, you can say bye-bye for this season. All right, buddy, I had enough of you. Got the OEM crush washers going on. Magnet all nice and cleaned up. Honestly, these are the days I hate, man. When it's cold out, you got to do stuff on the car. So pretty much wrapping it up here. Once I get the fluid in, probably about 2.8 quarts if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna start cleaning it all up. Trans fluid was decent, not too bad. I mean, the last time I think I changed it was probably about 22,000 miles ago. All right, guys, finishing up. Got the battery installed, got the charge pipes back installed, cleaned the undercarriage a little bit. Sorry I'm not filming the process because I'm freezing. I'm trying to get everything dialed in so I can take this car to work tomorrow. But intake's back on, added some coolant, all the fluids are there. I'm gonna start it up now, let it idle for a few minutes here, check all the fluids, and I think I just gotta wrap it up with putting the bumper back on, all the clips, clean up the mess I made. Again, these hoses are absolute garbage. Like, they're so stiff. Like, look, I could barely bend this hose, and it's like dry rotted almost, like you can bend them and crack them. So I'm glad I got rid of that junk. Whoa. Finally. Transmission fluid right on the money, boys. We'll check the oil, we'll go for a spin, and I'll get back to you guys. I need to talk to you real quick before I end this video. Data logging a little bit here. So far car's running pretty good. Air fuel ratios haven't really changed. Alright guys, thanks for sticking around. Went to test drive the car, beat on it, everything looks pretty good. I'm always worried about whenever I do anything with the charge pipes and I put it back on, sometimes it can possibly affect the tune, because if you don't tighten the clamp enough and you got a tiny boost leak or something like that, your AFRs will be different. So far I did some pulls. AFR looks pretty good. I'm gonna give you a little summary like I promised you guys. Sorry, this video wasn't supposed to be like this, and I didn't think I'd be here for 5 hours working on the car, but I'll show you the tune. But before I say that, I'm gonna be just running the car probably here without the transmission cooler from this point forward. Wintertime, summertime, whatever. I mean, I'm running low boost. I'm gonna be changing the fluid quite often, so I don't think we're gonna have any problems with this boost level and running the factory transmission cooler. Anyway, as you can see, we did a pull here and wide open throttle. We're trying to shoot for about 10.5. So if we look at the overlay right over here, everything's pretty much 0. So in boost we're looking pretty good. These aren't the most accurate here, but this is something definitely to consider. That's my curve right over here on the 2D, on the 3D, and that's something I've been tinkering for a long time, these air fuel ratios, and I got it to the point where I'm kind of dialed in, at least for this current temperature, which is anywhere from 30 degrees, as you can see, 45 degrees right now. Looks pretty good. Let me just get you through the calibration here just quickly while I got some battery life left. One thing that we definitely had to do here with the car is the throttle curve. You can see my throttle curve is nice and smooth. If you look at the factory curve, there's some spikes during certain RPMs just to kind of give it a faster feel. However, with turbo, I figured smooth is safe and better. So I'm actually, if you can look, my throttle plate, even if I put the throttle to 100%, the throttle body is not opening up 100%, and I don't want it to open up 100% because, one, this turbo is pretty small to push all that air out. It gets heated up quite quickly, and again, I don't want to blow the motor, so I don't want to give it all the power. I don't want to give it all the air. I know some of you guys can say it's kind of worthless, but this is what I'm comfortable with right now, and it feels good and it feels safe. So like, yeah, at about 55.5 is my maximum throttle. So that's one thing I adjusted here. Another thing I want to show you guys, knock sensitivity. I mean, knock sensitivity is something definitely on the low side that you kind of want to adjust yourself. The curve of this is going to determine how much K control you guys are going to be getting from your knock sensor. So you definitely want to increase the numbers compared to your factory numbers by at least 10%. Some people go way aggressive and they do 20-30%, or kind of desensitize that knock sensor completely so it doesn't pull any timing. Again, depending on your fueling and timing, it's up to you what you want to do with the knock sensor. If you're still running on pump gas and you want to be somewhat safe, 10-15% is more than enough. Now, one thing I did change quite a bit, guys, is the ignition timing. So I've worked on this a lot recently. I didn't work on it too much back when I was tuning the first version, but I really smoothed out the curves here as we get into boost. I lowered some of the timing during transition, and again I kind of watched out for peak torque. Again, peak torque on these cars is roughly around, you know, 43 to 4500. So during those RPMs, I kind of smoothed out that area on the curve right around here. So it's not terribly aggressive, but it's just a nice smooth steady curve. And right now guys, I'm really running about, I'd say I'm running about 4 pounds of boost. You know, the last thing I've, oh yeah, I forgot, yeah, 4 pounds of boost. The last thing I did, I was messing with tuning so much, guys. I took the wastegate off completely to let it vent all the boost, right, so it doesn't build boost. I've driven it like that. I did some wide open throttle pulls. I tuned it for this, and I mean, again, if you change the throttle map, you have to change the tune, and everything is affected on the throttle map. So I've done so much tuning on fueling, I've done so much tuning on timing, I've done so much tuning on the throttle map. Again, I used to have my wastegate preload a certain way where I would hit 6-7 pounds of boost. Wintertime, guys, I'm a little shaken up, and I got snake bit from the last time I blew the motor during the winter. But again, we've made the engine a lot more efficient. We've made the turbo draining more efficient, the venting, the crankcase pressure venting more efficient. So the car is much better, happier, smoother at this lower power band. And I'm happy. I still get all the noises. The power is still definitely more than factory, but it's just not peaking as fast. You know, that torque, and that with the small turbo, it's not peaking as fast, which again is the no-no for these stock rods at low RPMs. So by actually letting the wastegate preload 2 turns looser than I was already, now the turbo spools a little bit slower. It spools maybe at 3200 RPMs instead of before, like, you know, 28, 29 it would start spooling. So there's definitely a gradual kind of boost curve now. It's a little better than what it was when I had the regular preload on it. So all things considered, cars should be running good. I'm still going to be monitoring the logs. I'm probably running, you know, let's say around 18.5 degrees of timing here at 3.5 pounds of boost. So I'm pretty happy with that. You know, in the future, next season, we might go full E85. I'm not even sure if we have to. I don't really want to upgrade the fuel pump and the injectors. I mean, the car's just happy right now. Pump gas, just RDX injectors, no other mods really other than the turbo kit and Honda, and it's a done deal, guys. And this is the beauty of the R18 engine. It's just such an easy kit to work on. Everything is in front of the engine. I personally really like it. Easy to work on, again, like I mentioned, compared to the K series. And it's a great learning vehicle because things are cheaper, things are easier, the engine is simpler, and again, for low boost, the car will run just fine all day. Well, that's about it. I think I'm gonna wrap this video up, guys. If my battery lasts a little bit, let me just go over one pull that I did right now. Right over here, you can see air fuel ratio, 0.5 pounds of boost, 10.5. That's kind of the sweet spot where I'm shooting for. And as you can see, as we go through the RPMs, it's kind of roughly around that area. Again, the stock sensor isn't that accurate once you start getting into richer air fuel ratios, so take these numbers with a grain of salt. That's why I go try to shoot for 10.5 AFR, just in case, give it like a 1 AFR point leeway if it is not reading accurately. But as you can see right there, it's a pretty consistent area with that fuel. We got plenty of duty cycle here. As long as it's under 85, you are good to go. Here's another pull right now. We probably got 3.5 pounds of boost. AFR's looking pretty good. And I saw a cop, so I had to slow down. And as you can see, like, my throttle pedal is 91% or whatever, but again, no matter what the throttle plate is, the throttle pedal is, the throttle plate doesn't go up over 58% opening. So again, that's just the safety precaution with this car, not having a boost controller and everything really being mechanical. The only two things you have to adjust boost pressure and how it comes on is adjusting your internal wastegate preload and messing with the throttle map on this one right over here. You can decrease that throttle map in case you need to, but all things considered, everything's good in the hood. Hopefully she gives me many more miles. Since we installed the turbo, I think we put on about, I'm thinking around 5,500 miles on the car. It's about to be January. The winter hasn't been very mild compared to, I'm kind of scared going into winter because that's when she blew last time in March. So I'm kind of nervous going into this season, but I'm pretty confident in all the things I have done. And one thing I want to add, that positive crankcase ventilation, the factory positive crankcase ventilation, is actually doing a good job sucking in the crankcase pressure out, and just the engine seems happier. Before last year, when I was just venting to atmosphere, the crankcase pressure, if you pop the oil cap open, there was definitely some white under the oil cap, and it's just moisture accumulation. But now with the PCV installed, it's just moving the air better. I think it's just getting rid of that moisture and stuff. So far it's promising. It looks good. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead, subscribe to the channel. Get some merch, man. We got some things coming, but get that merch, guys. I really appreciate it. It helps me support the channel and build more cool things, buy more things for this car. And yeah, that's about it. Peace out. Leave a comment down below. What do you guys think?
I ain't here for the money, I ain't here for the fame. Though it might be nice to own a jet plane, I'ma do it all for you. Come along.